Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, so today we are going to be doing a little combo of teaching and then also a meditation, more of like a higher self activation. And then we're going to do a little card pull. So mixing it up a little bit from our usual style, because I was thinking this morning, like, what do I feel called to tell the people today? And the biggest thing that was coming through is sometimes we need to do less talking and more getting into the body, more connecting to ourselves. And so I want to bring some of that back to the pod and IG lives and all of that. 2222 is showing for me. Wow, so aligned. Oh, I love that. Look at that. Perfect divine timing. So thank you guys for joining. So I want to first start off with a little chat about healing emotion dysregulation through action. And then we're going to lead into our meditation. So what is emotion dysregulation? Emotion dysregulation is when we don't feel safe to be with our emotions, when our emotions take over, particularly fear, shame. Those are the main two that I experience with emotion dysregulation, but it really just means that you feel unsafe in your body. So you guys know the difference energetically when you feel some sadness come up or some fear and you're able to just take a breath with it, acknowledge that it's there, and then move on with your day, right? Versus when you feel so much fear or so much shame or so much pain or whatever showing up for you that it just takes over. It feels like you're frozen, like you can't move, like you don't want to get out of bed, like your nervous system is just shutting the fuck down. And we've all been there as humans because one, we were never really taught how to actually feel and regulate our emotions. And two, because sometimes emotions are just that big that they feel so strong that we don't know how to hold it. And when we don't know how to hold it, we know that that's oftentimes, if not the majority of the time, if not all the time, coming from the younger part of ourselves where that emotion feels too big for that little child within us to actually hold, and they need to feel supported in feeling it, in holding it, in choosing how to relate to it. So when we feel like that emotion is too big, too strong, we know that our inner child is needing support. And so this is a practice of how do we relate to our emotions from our most powerful, highest self, as opposed to the small child within us that just can't hold it. And this is where relational healing, which is what I do with my clients every day, comes in, because, and why it's so key is because if you're asking like a 5-year-old to hold a whole bucket of pain and shame and fear alone, that child is not going to be able to hold that bucket of fear, shame, sadness, whatever it is alone. Their nervous system simply is too underdeveloped and young to be able to handle that. And that's what we're asking ourselves to do when we have not processed our stored childhood pain, is we're expecting this tiny young little child, like literally imagine a child in your life right now, and then giving them this bucket of pain to hold and say, you need to feel this, right? That's literally what we're asking ourselves to do when we have yet to process our stored childhood pain, when we have yet to reparent our inner child. And then we shame ourselves for not being able to hold that pain or hold that shame or know how to regulate our nervous systems. We think, oh, we're acting so childish, or, oh, we should know how to, regulate better, or we were never taught these things. And so it's an art form of feeling and riding the waves of emotions without getting caught in the wave and without the wave becoming bigger than it needs to be. So I have been someone that has struggled with regulating my emotions since I was in the womb. Since day one. When I was a kid, I had temper tantrums. Growing up, I would just get so triggered in my relationships. Now, people wouldn't know this about me because I teach this for a living, right? This is something that I've always been really gifted at, is understanding emotions and how to relate to them. But there's a difference between cognitively knowing something and embodying it as a practice, as an art form, as a healing craft in your body. And so there was always this disconnect of like, I knew that I had this level of emotional intelligence that came very naturally to me because I'm an old soul and I incarnated all that wisdom into this present life. But then my very human self struggled to actually relate to those emotions in the way that I wanted to. And so I had a lot of emotion dysregulation, and this comes from stored childhood pain and trauma where I was not attuned to in the way that I needed to be, where I was not held in the way I needed to be. Now, all of us have unmet emotional needs from childhood. And this is how generational trauma perpetuates is your parents didn't get held and attuned to, so they didn't know how to hold and attune to you. And then if you have kids, you don't know how to hold and attune to them. Most parents, it's very painful to see your child suffering with sadness, with pain, with shame. And so you just want to make that emotion go away. And then the child never learns how to hold that emotion. So my emotion dysregulation has shifted a lot in my healing journey, which I've been on for the past almost 3 years now. I mean, long before that, I was in therapy since age of 4, but I count this work as my true healing journey because you could talk about your trauma all day long. If you're not feeling it out of the body, you're not actually processing it. So I've done a lot of work on it, and it can still show up. And it's shown up this week where there was a lot of fear, and I'm learning how to feel fear without it taking me out. Now, it's the reason why it's called an art form is, for example, yesterday, I was able to feel, if you guys watch my Instagram stories, you would see I was able to feel the fear for like really a good amount of the morning where I was just like releasing it. And I felt so much lighter afterwards. I felt so much more like less fearful. Like I just could breathe more deeply in my body. Like I just felt those benefits that you feel when you move through a lot of heavy emotion. And I felt free again. I felt light. I felt connected. I felt grounded. I was like, oh, this feels so good. And I want everyone to experience this because so many of us just walk around with that stored tension and heaviness all day. And we never know what it's like to actually fully release it, where it's like your body almost feels like jello because it's like there's nothing left. You feel so light as a feather. And then what happened for me is, so for those that know human design, I'm an emotional authority. So I experience high highs and low lows, and my job is to ride those emotional waves without the waves taking me out. Now, what happened yesterday was that because I had spent so much energy releasing that emotion, I was on empty. My tank was empty. And what I really needed was rest. Now, some days we're going to be able to give ourselves that rest, and other days we're like, okay, we have to get through this thing, put on our big girl pants, and we'll rest as soon as we can. So for me, after I released a lot of that emotion, I had a client session and then I had to drive 40 minutes to the dentist. And so by the time I was driving home from the dentist, I was spent. I was like, I need to get on my couch and take a nap ASAP. It's like literally a child goes to daycare, they play, they release so much energy, and then they need to recharge, right? We are the same way. If we don't monitor our energy, we're going to run on empty, and then we're going to be extra anxious, extra irritable, extra sensitive. So my warning signs when that happens is I can notice this irritability. I can notice, like, think about when you're running on a full tank, you can just handle things. You hear things differently. You see the world differently. Like you're just, able to hold more because you have the energy to do so and you feel full. When your energy and your tank is empty, the smallest of things can just trigger the fuck out of you. So I noticed I was feeling extra sensitive, extra vulnerable, extra irritable, extra annoyed, extra pessimistic, like more difficulty connecting to gratitude. If you have been told, just feel grateful, and you are in survival mode, you are going to feel so invalidated, so gaslit. You're going to be like, why can't I feel grateful? We cannot genuinely feel gratitude. Again, it's different thinking it. We can write all the gratitude lists in the world, but we can't genuinely feel gratitude. You guys know the difference, right? One is you're writing those gratitude lists. You think about, oh my God, I'm looking outside right now. I'm so grateful for this beautiful nature all around me. I can think that, but there's a difference between when I think that, my shutters are making so much noise. You guys could probably hear it. Let me know if it gets too loud and then I'll try and figure something out. You can think, I'm so grateful for this beautiful nature. But when you feel that, it's like this deep, like warm hug in your body of like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. Like, wow, like it just feels so good. Like you can feel that difference. Let me know in the comments if you know that difference that I'm talking about. So when I have trouble accessing gratitude, I know that my tank is empty. I know that I'm sleep deprived. I know that I'm overtired. I know that I need to regulate my energy and not give more energy because I need rest. And what happens is when I don't give myself that rest, my inner child comes out. Think about a kid. I think about my niece and nephew with this all the time because I put them to bed before. When they're so overtired, it's like this mark where it's like you miss that time, that sweet spot time where they're supposed to go to bed. And they just become overtired. Think about any child in your life, or maybe you resonate this with your own inner child and you're so overtired and you're like, I need to go to bed, but I'm like too tired to even put myself to bed. And so my mentor and I have this running expression and joke of like, put the baby to bed, put the baby to bed, put the baby to bed, of like, okay, I'm going to go put the baby to bed. She's tired, right? And it's me. I become the baby who needs to be put to bed. And when we get so overtired, our inner child looks outside of ourselves for mom and dad to put us to bed, right? Okay, I'm ready for bed. And then we realize, oh, wait, we're an adult. We have to put ourselves to bed. And so yesterday I noticed that feeling where I was driving home and I was talking about I was kind of sharing with my mastermind group how I had moved through a lot of the fear and I was feeling lighter. And then, how did it start? Yeah, my mentor was responding to something about how I was processing and was just kind of getting curious around a few things. Now I knew in that moment, I cannot process this with her in this moment because I don't have the energy for it. But when we have that anxious attachment or when we're overtired or when we have those vulnerability factors that make us more sensitive to emotions and being able to hold that and regulate that, we don't always make the best decisions, right? So sometimes little us takes over and we're like, oh, we'll just respond and whatever. But I could feel my response was just like irritated. And I'm like, I don't need to be communicating when I'm in this state, but I did anyway. And it just made everything worse because then I was so sensitive to just the conversation, how I was communicating and how she was responding. And it's like, it didn't even need to get to that point. All I needed to do was put the phone down and be like, you don't have energy to have this conversation right now or to process this in a deeper way. You are tired, go home and rest. Right. And instead I allowed my inner child to come out and be like, blah, 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 and just like grouchy and irritated. And it's like, that didn't need to happen. Right. So I can learn from that and say, okay, next time I'm feeling that way, that is my job to put the phone down. Cause sometimes we can, oh, Stella is so cute right now. Look at her. She's snuggling with her little toy. She's so cute. She got her hair cut and she's just looking like fresh out the womb. So sometimes we really, we do the things we know we shouldn't do, right? Like, especially with phones and our anxious attachment of like, I need to respond or I need to check that message. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. There's no urgency. But when our nervous systems are wired in survival mode, we perceive urgency when there's no urgency. So we're like, we got to respond right away. Or, oh, I want to just talk this out and get it over with. And it's like, our biggest thing that we can do in those moments is just slow the fuck down. Like, slow down. There's no rush. There's no urgency. Tend to yourself first. Because if you don't tend to yourself first, it's going to make everything worse. The way that you communicate, the way that you view the world. Like last night, I was so overtired. I was walking my dogs and I was just like I was having like an existential crisis. Like, what is this? What's the point of life? Like, what are we doing here? And you can always feel the difference because when I feel my tank full, when I feel Like I'm actually taking care of myself. I'm rested. I'm nourished. I'm feeding myself. I'm drinking water. I'm like taking care of those basic essentials. My mindset is so different. I'm like, oh my God, life is amazing. Life is such a gift. I'm like high on life. When I don't do that, my mindset is the complete opposite. It's like, oh my God. And it's like, I'm harder on myself. I'm harder on others. I'm just like more pessimistic. And it's again, just getting to know yourself, right? So that's how it shows up for me. Maybe it shows up differently for you. And so it's really getting to know like your own energy levels, your own, ways of responding to your emotions, what your inner child is needing in those moments. Does she need to have the conversation at that moment? Does she need rest? Does she need healthy food? Have you just been having like not mindful meals and just rushing and eating in front of the TV? Does she need you to actually give her attention and slow down and put everyone and everything else on pause and actually take 5 minutes to meditate or journal or read a book or do a card pull, right? Like, what are you actually needing and where are you not feeling safe to give that to yourself? So bringing in the topic of action, the main thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about with action is that when we are experiencing emotion dysregulation, hi, this guy is here. Oh, you're so cute. Mwah. When we are experiencing emotion dysregulation, we tend to oscillate between two extremes. One is that we take impulsive action rather than slowing down. So for me, that was responding when I wasn't in a place to be talking to anyone, let alone processing heavy things like emotions. Or we tend to shut down and not want to take any action, right? So when we don't want to take any action. So that was me when I got home. I was like too tired to even nap. I tried a nap and I was like, I can't even nap. I'm like too wound up from all this emotion to nap. And so instead, I took some gentle action. And that's what I want to focus on today. When you notice the emotion is taking over and all you want to do is lay on the couch, curl up in a ball, and become baby, I'm giving you permission to do that for a maximum of 3 to 5 minutes. Allow yourself to do that. Go to the couch, curl up like a baby, cry as much as you need to, hug a pillow, hug your dog. Do not reach for external saving. Do not tell your partner, baby needs hug, because that's relating to your partner like a parent, and that is not your partner's responsibility. It's one thing to genuinely be connected to your heart and just say, hey, I've had a really rough day. I could use a hug. Sure, that's fine. But when you are in that baby mode, and we all know what that baby mode is, this is your opportunity to become your own parent so that you stop seeking external saving outside of yourself. That is the goal, to become your own anchor of safety, your own anchor of attunement, your own anchor of being your own parent. Now, obviously, if you need support with this, this is what I do with my clients every day. So again, you can ask for support, but it has to come from a place of non-attachment, not expecting, well, my partner should have given me a hug because I was overtired. No, no, no. That's relating to your partner or your family member, your friend or your mentor, or whoever it is, from baby mode, expecting them to be your parent. You are an adult. You are responsible for meeting your own needs. So this is what I did yesterday that I'm going to guide you through today, except I'm going to tell you where I went wrong, what I did right, so that you can learn from my experience. So I allowed myself to have a few minutes of just letting my inner child have a temper tantrum. Now, the old temper tantrums used to, for example, when I would be in a relationship, it used to look like me blowing up my partner's phone. It used to look like me running away from the emotion and like distracting myself, going to TV, going to, the mall to go shopping, like impulsivity, right? Like going to oh my God, the shutters are so loud. Can you guys hear that? Let me know in the comments if you can hear those, because they are fucking loud. Going to impulsive action rather than actually inspired, aligned action. So you take a few minutes, you just You cry it out. You just breathe. You just tend to yourself. And then how do I want to relate to this? How do I want to relate to this? We don't mind loving this. Okay, good. Let me know if it gets too loud and then I can move. But yeah, I fucking hate these shutters. They put them in, well, they just come with the apartment and I took most of them down, but these ones I left up. Anyway, so how do I want to relate to this? Now, when I was in that state yesterday, it's so familiar because, and it blows my mind that that is how I used to feel every day. And that still blows my mind because now that I've done this healing work, it's not my norm anymore. It's actually the exception. Most days I'm very grounded. I'm very regulated. I feel connected to myself. I feel like a full adult, but there are still those times where little me shows up, and being able to realize, holy shit, I used to live like that every day. Like, what? That is exhausting. So exhausting. It's like expending so much energy. So when I notice this feeling of like, oh my God, this is how I used to relate all the time. Okay, we get to relate differently. We get to relate differently. What do I actually need right now? What will help me shift out of this state? Because the thing is there's a difference between feeling your feeling and allowing it to move through versus when your inner child is activated and so overtired and so overstimulated. Like literally, you have to remember we are still human. So when we get too tired and we're not taking care of ourselves, we're going to turn into that baby mode and we get to choose if we let that baby take over or not. So when we notice that, we have to look at, okay, so one example would be, all right, let me just take a nap, right? For me, I was like beyond the point of napping. So I was like, all right, we got to do a plan B here. And the plan B was, what are some things that I can do right now that actually would feel in alignment? Because there's this feeling when you're dysregulated where you're like, oh my God, I'm wasting so much time and energy feeling dysregulated. Oh, and what I was saying before was that there's a difference between feeling the emotion and allowing it to move through versus when you're so overtired, or let's say the emotion is really big and it makes you feel unsafe in your body, where it just takes over. And it, again, like I said at the beginning, it just makes you feel frozen. You don't want to do anything. You want to collapse on the couch all day. And then it's the end of the day passes by and you're like, oh my God, I wasted so much time and energy just being afraid. And what was I afraid of? Like, I'm safe. Everything's actually okay. So how you get yourself out of that is when you notice that you're getting sucked into the dark rabbit hole, right? We all know that feeling, like you just get sucked in by the emotion. The wave of the emotion is knocking you over and you're like, oh my God, I can barely get up. It's literally like when you're in the ocean and the wave knocks you over and you're like trying to get back to shore. And then you got knocked down again. Like that's literally what riding emotions feels like sometimes. And like the thing is we have to be real about this. This is why I'm so transparent with you guys about like what my experience is, because we look at this app, we go on Instagram and we see all these like perfectly like curated, like, let me just breathe through my emotions. Like learning how to feel your emotions and regulate your emotions and ride emotional waves, it's fucking messy. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. It's like you literally turn into a child and you feel so much shame around it. And then you struggle to have compassion for yourself, but then you're being told that you should have compassion for yourself. And so you try and have compassion for yourself, but then you're also feeling so much shame. And it's like, it's messy. It's very messy. It's very uncomfortable. It's very much having to look at these deep, dark, ugly parts of yourself and then choosing to love yourself anyway. Now, that's not easy at all. So I don't care what you see on this platform where it's like perfectly curated, like I just breathe into my body and I'm now like regulated. Like, yes, we can breathe. But again, learning how to heal emotion dysregulation is messy. It's not pretty. It's ugly a lot of the time, like a lot of ugly crying, a lot of like me showing up with puffy fucking eyes today, me showing up with bags under my eyes. Like, you think I wanted to show up today? No, I didn't want to show up. I wanted to keep crying because that's what feels familiar to my nervous system. But instead I said, okay, We don't need to get sucked into the hole. We already did that yesterday. Now it's time to get out of the hole. So what do? So, okay, I'm past the point of taking a nap, but if you can take a nap, great, or whatever you're needing, you need to eat. I also needed to eat, right? So when I was a DBT therapist, we would start each session with looking at what your vulnerability factors were. You were hungry, you were tired, right? These are things that basic human bodies need. And if you don't give that to yourself, you're going to be more sensitive and vulnerable to emotion dysregulation. So I needed to eat. My mouth was in pain from the dentist because they went really hard and my gums were inflamed. It was a whole thing. Like my whole mouth was sore. So I was tired. I was sore. My mouth was hurting. I was hungry and I was like, do I sleep? Do I eat? Like it was just one of those days. And so I was like, all right, what can I do? And so I sat up and I was like, we're not going to attach onto this. We're going to show our nervous system that we are safe. How do we show our nervous system we're safe when we're in a state of emotion dysregulation? We get back to quote unquote the normal action things we would be doing if we were not feeling unsafe. Now, I know that can sound contradicting because if you're feeling unsafe, you're like, well, how the fuck do I do normal things? You feel the fear and you do it anyway. So I was just on a call where I'm in a group with my naturopath and she was like, one hand is fear, one hand is faith. You take the two and you feel the fear and you do it anyway. So I was still feeling fear, but I knew cognitively that I was safe. So I had to bring my body back out of the dysregulation and move forward. And this is why action is so important, not impulsivity and not the opposite extreme of not doing anything where you're frozen. Some action to get out of that dorsal, what we call in the polyvagal theory, dorsal vagal shutdown, where your body is like fully shut down. So something small, fear and faith walking together. So what did I do? I created a reel. I used how I was feeling as a teaching moment. So if you look at my reel from yesterday, I said, your mind is going to tell you lies. I'm broken. What were the other ones? I'm broken. No one's going to love me like this. It's just me who acts this way. Something's wrong with me. I'm always going to feel like this forever. Because those were some of the thoughts that were going through my mind. Now, cognitively, I know that these are not true. And when I'm in such a dysregulated place, my mind can go to those thoughts of being really critical on myself, being really critical and pessimistic about life, right? And just feeling a lot of perfectionism around my healing of like, I've already healed this. Why is it coming up again? Why is it coming up again? I can tell you that right now, because when we attach onto something, the universe is going to squash that attachment and teach us we cannot attach onto feeling any certain way. So when I'm feeling really grounded and regulated, it feels so fucking good that I'm like, I just want to feel this like this all the time. And then I get a little hyper vigilant around, am I regulated? Am I okay? Like, cause I don't want to go back to dysregulation. So then I get a little hyper vigilant around it. And then what happens, because I'm focusing on not becoming dysregulated, I then become dysregulated because the universe is like, stop attaching on to feeling good. The whole point of building internal safety, the whole point of the work I do on myself and with my clients every single day is so that you feel safe to be with what comes up in each present moment, not so that you can feel grounded 24/7. That's not realistic. That's not life. We're not robots. We're humans. It's non-attachment, right? And so rather than attaching on, we have to allow each present moment to be its own thing without making it mean something about us, without making it mean, oh, wait, I thought I healed this and now it's coming back and da. Because again, the more that you try and control how you feel, the more you try and control what shows up for you, the more God in the universe is going to say, no, that's not how it works. You are safe to be with whatever comes up in each present moment. So yesterday morning, I was feeling grounded after processing an emotion. And then I was attaching on to feeling so good and being like, oh my God, I'm not dysregulated. Like I moved through that fear so beautifully. I'm so proud of myself. Like, and then I was getting too attached to that. that then I ended up dysregulated because I wasn't just allowing myself to be, I was just fixating too much on like the hypervigilance, right? And so we want to take some action to get us out of that. So I created a reel and then turn that pain, turn that suffering into purpose of like, I know if I'm feeling this way, other people are feeling this way too. And how can I use my experience to teach other people how to move through it as well? I made myself a nourishing dinner. Now, in the past, I would have ordered DoorDash and I would have ordered something unhealthy that just felt comforting in the moment. That would have been my inner child taking over. Me learning how to reparent myself is let me make a nourishing meal that actually gives my body nutrients and not just garbage, right? Because that wouldn't actually be taking care of myself. So I made a reel, I made dinner, I sat outside without my phone and just sat in the sun and breathed. What else did I do? I journaled, I chanted. Good boy, Bubba, no barks. I put some ice on my chest because it was really hot. And also it's a trick for nervous system regulation to just like have your body feel calm. So I did that and I just took some deep breaths before bed. I took a shower. Did I take a shower? I think so. Or maybe I did. Yeah, I can't remember. I took a shower this morning. Anyway, so I just did things to take care of myself. And I woke up still feeling like a little bit of that vulnerability hangover and processed it a little bit more with my mentor and really got to a good place. But I'm still feeling tired because it took a lot of energy yesterday. And again, this brings me back to this point of like, people complain about how much money, time, and energy it takes to heal. But when you are living emotionally dysregulated, which then leads to cognitive dysregulation, which then leads to behavioral dysregulation, like you understand it's all connected, right? So it all starts with the body. People talk about mindset work all the time. Mindset work does not work if you are not tending to your body first. How do you think thoughts get created? From your emotions, not the other way around. I'm very passionate about this because I spent a good chunk of my career teaching people how to rewire their thoughts. And it worked temporarily, but it didn't work long term because we weren't processing the emotion in their body. And so if you're just focusing on mindset and then you're wondering, well, why do I feel anxious all the time? Why do I feel like shit? Hi, Talia. Talia, I love you. I miss you. Thank you for joining. And you're wondering like, why do I still feel like shit all the time? It's because we cannot change and rewire our thoughts if we're not tending to the very root emotions that create those thoughts. You understand how thoughts are created. So my favorite analogy is the tree. Okay. This is the tree. This is our nervous system. Okay. This is our body. This is our nervous system. These branches of leaves, I hope you guys, if you're listening to this on podcast, please tune into YouTube or Instagram because this image is fucking hilarious. These branches are our thoughts, our beliefs. Do you understand? Hi, Isabel. Thanks for joining. Okay, so what I used to do as a CBT therapist was I would just focus on the branches. I would say, oh, you're thinking, you know, and again, it was helpful to an extent because yes, it is important to look at how we're thinking, right? But it didn't get to the root. So I helped my clients to a certain extent. And then I was like, I got to dig deeper. So I would help my clients look at their thoughts. And let's say a teenager came into my office and they would say, you know, I'm just not worthy. And so I would look at this thought of I'm not worthy. And I would say, how does it make you feel? Well, it makes me feel sad, right? And then I would say, well, what's it different? Like, is that thought ultimately true? When we look at the evidence for it, no, it's not ultimately true. What's a more true thought? Oh, that I am actually innately worthy, right? And so then we change this branch. But what happens is that we didn't tend to this sadness. we didn't process the emotion in the body, which is the sadness. So imagine, which I do need to water this, that you're just pouring, let's say the dirt is just like, you need to replace the dirt, right? You need to feel and release the emotion, which is the spoiled dirt. But before doing that, you're just pouring new dirt on, new dirt, but you're not tending to the old dirt. Right? So it's like, it's just going to be temporary. It's just going to be temporary. You're going to feel better for a moment of, wow, I'm worthy. But then that sadness of feeling unworthy that you haven't processed through your body is going to come back up. And then the original thought is just going to come back like 2 seconds later. So it's not actually getting to the root. Isel said, oh my God, yes, even so many therapists say the other way around, like thoughts create emotions. No, I used to be one of those therapists. I literally used to be one of them. And I'm like, no, I've learned. But I always believe emotions behind the thoughts. Yes, exactly. You got it. All right. So we need to take action when we're feeling that way. And even if all you can do is go for a walk or breathe or chant or journal, like find a way to move the emotion through. And when you've done that, there's a tendency for the nervous system to want to attach on to the suffering, to the pain, because that's more familiar to your inner child. That's more familiar to your nervous system than actually allowing it to move through and actually allowing yourself to move forward. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because consciously and cognitively, we want to feel better. But our nervous systems goes towards what's actually familiar. So because we go to what's familiar first, if we're not used to being able to allow emotions to move through, and we are so used to just attaching on and suffering and going down the hole, it's not going to feel familiar to actually move through. So yes, we want to feel the feeling, but when you notice that you're not feeling the feeling anymore, you're just attaching on to suffering, you're just attaching on to familiarity of your nervous system going into that survival mode. That's when you need to take the action. That's when you need to show, it's show, not tell. We can tell our nervous systems, we're safe, we're safe, we're safe, we're safe. And then inside your nervous system is screaming like, but I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. And so action is what actually shows your nervous system I'm safe. So if I actually was in survival mode being chased by a bear, I would not be able to create a reel or make a salad or walk my dogs under the moonlight. But because I'm not actually in survival mode, by me allowing myself to get out the fear, have a little temper tantrum on my couch, let my inner child say and scream what she needs to say, just let it all out. And then we're going to hold her. We're going to help her feel safe. I always imagine holding her and helping her feel safe. And then we're going to take the action. It gets us back into normal life. For example, I didn't want to come on live this morning because again, I'm exhausted from feeling so dysregulated yesterday and a little bit this morning that I'm like, oh. But I know that by staying in that state, it's just going to perpetuate this belief that I'm in survival mode, that the fear is communicating I'm unsafe, whereas really the fear is showing up because I'm making a lot of beautiful, expansive shifts in my life right now, in my business, in my personal life, in my healing journey, that I can accept that the fear is here and show my body that it doesn't mean that my body is in survival mode. Look at Sky. He's so freaking cute. Look at him. He's just a little baby. He's so cute. I literally can't stand it. Okay. A little intermission there. Are you saving the live? I want to watch, but I'm working. Yes, my lives are always saved. And you can also listen on the podcast. So I give you, and YouTube, I give you guys 3 options of where to tune into this so that you can, pick your favorite. So that is why we need action. So before I head into the meditation, if you guys have any questions or any specific things or examples you need support moving through, like if you are stuck with some area of this process. Okay, at what point are you attaching to the emotion? Okay, that is a fabulous, fabulous question. Okay. Imagine a time where you have an emotion come up. So, for example, yesterday when there was fear came up, and I just took a few minutes to get still and I breathed. I felt it, I cried, I allowed the emotion to release. I really I had a lot of fear come up. So I had a lot of crying, a lot of it's going to look different for everyone. Not everyone needs to cry. Sometimes you can just breathe and the emotion softens. For me, I needed to release that. So I did. And then you'll know when an emotion has moved through when you then get to the other side, which is feeling lighter. You're like, oh my God, I feel so light. I feel so grounded. I feel so connected. That's how I feel right now because I've released a lot of it. Whew. You just feel so light. Now, how did I know when I was attaching on to this familiarity of dysregulation was when I just couldn't stop crying. I'd already felt the lightness, but then I was so overtired that I just kept crying and kept crying and kept crying. And it's there was nothing that actually needed to be moved through. It was that I just needed rest. So you're attaching onto the emotion when you've already felt it, but you feel yourself feeling unsafe in your body, where the emotion then feels like it's taken over, where you're just getting sucked in rather than actually allowing yourself to take the action and move on with your day. I'm going through a breakup and I'm trying to find out the best way to deal with the emotions and grief. So when you are grieving and when you are in pain, you're never going to have to try and figure out what there is to process. Your body is always going to communicate to you. So how did I know that there was fear coming up? I had my body communicate signals to me. One signal was that I was reaching for my phone way too much. So I was avoiding me. When we're reaching for something outside of ourselves, we know that that's an avoidance of self. Because what happens when we're actually sitting still with ourselves, that's when emotion comes up. So I noticed I'm reaching for my phone too much. I noticed that I was going to bed too late. I noticed that even when I was doing my daily habits every day, meditate, I chant, I journal, I was rushing through it to then just go back to my phone. I wasn't fully getting still with myself. And when I'm not fully getting still with myself and I feel this frenetic energy, you know, that frenetic feeling in your body where it's like this buzzing, it's like, ah, it's like maybe you're bouncing around your house, you're doing a million things, but you're not able to just get still and breathe deeply. So if you're going through a breakup, and chances are, if this is a recent breakup, you are going to be in some pain. And it's not going to be the same thing as, let's say, in my example, where I just needed to sit and cry and release some of that fear. And then I feel light. I moved through that really quickly. A breakup is more of, or any grief when you lose someone, it's more of a process where your heart is most likely going to be feeling tender for, I don't want to say a long time, but more than just, okay, let me sit on my couch, cry, and then I move through fear and it's gone, right? More of a quick emotion that moves through. It's more of a grieving process. So it's not as simple as, oh, I feel some sadness come up. Let me sit with it, breathe, and now it's gone. Or I feel some fear come up. Let me take a few moments, breathe, and now I feel it move through my body. And now I feel light again. Grieving in a breakup is more of you're going to be continually tending to your heart. But when you're attaching onto the emotion, it's when you are not actually, let me see how I want to phrase this. It's when you are allowing that emotion to fully take you out where you're not showing up for yourself. So again, the opposite extreme is you're just staying busy, staying busy, staying busy, staying busy, and you're not actually feeling your feelings. Then that sweet middle spot is we're taking time to feel our feelings while still showing up for ourselves and taking care of ourselves and moving forward in our lives. Now, moving forward doesn't mean the pain's not going to be there. It means that you're still showing up for yourself. Whereas the dorsal shutdown of attaching to emotion is I'm not actually feeling the emotion and allowing it to move through and then coming back to like, I'm still safe. I am okay. It's this pain makes me feel so unsafe that I can't even get out of bed. I can't even shower. Now, there are going to be times in life where the pain does feel like it's killing us, right? Like when I lost my mom, I was in bed for like days and I couldn't get out of bed. Like I was severely in pain where I just had to tend to that. Um, but there have been other times where, for example, when I've gone through a breakup and I kind of use it as an excuse to avoid life. Like I'll stay in bed and just binge Netflix all day. Now, is binging Netflix actually helping me feel my feelings? No, it's helping me avoid my feelings. It's helping me numb my feelings. So I remember one of the last breakups I went through, this was a couple years ago, where I called off of work. I laid in bed. I binge watched the Kardashians like all day, every day for like a week and ate crap food. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't shower. That's attaching on to suffering. That's attaching on to, I'm going to attach on to this pain because it feels more familiar than and safer than to actually show up for myself, take care of myself, and live my life. Now, we can live our lives while still feeling pain, right? It doesn't mean we're not going to need a day. Maybe we do take a day off work and just tend to ourselves, but tending to ourselves means taking care of ourselves. It means still taking action towards our lives and showing our nervous system we're safe to be with that pain. So again, a grieving process, a breakup process, there's a difference between I feel my heart is so tender, I feel my heart is so vulnerable and raw, and I'm just tending to that. I'm breathing with it. I'm taking care of myself. I'm allowing myself to move a little bit slower. I'm saying no to things that I don't have the energy for. I'm allowing myself to feel that and learn from it. Pain is such a beautiful, powerful teacher of like, what is it here to teach us, right? What is this breakup teaching me? What did this relationship teach me? And using that as a catalyst. One of my breakups literally created my program for healing anxious attachment, right? And so that was me using my pain and turning it into something. Maybe your pain is here to teach you like what you where your attachment wounding was getting triggered in that relationship. All of my breakups have taught me where little me was showing up and what I'm actually needing to come home to myself in a deeper way. So you want to look at, am I using this as an excuse because I don't feel safe and it feels safer to just collapse into a dark potato hole? Like I've seen coaches on here give people permission that when they're going through a breakup or heartbreak, that they're allowed to just turn into fetal position on the couch, watch as much TV as they want, eat as much crap food as they want. That is placating to the inner child. That is not actually helpful. And stay tuned because next week I am launching a free 2-week no TV challenge, which I have not announced yet to the public. But it's because I used to relate that way. I would turn to TV and food to escape pain rather than allowing pain to teach me. One of my breakups, listen to this, one of my breakups, my most recent breakup 2 years ago was literally what led me to hiring my mentor, who I did this healing work with on my nervous system, which then transformed my entire business and how I worked with clients. And it literally changed my entire life. Talk about pain into purpose. Now, had I just been binging Netflix all day and feeling sorry for myself rather than actually being with my pain and learning from it and allowing it to help me grow and to look at what needs healing, I wouldn't have actually then healed that attachment wounding. I would still be so anxiously attached the way that I was in that relationship. And so you want it to be all happening for you. That doesn't mean we bypass the pain. We say, wow, I'm in deep pain right now and I'm tending to that. I'm feeling it. I'm allowing space for it. I'm not running away from it. I'm not bypassing it. but I am showing myself that I'm safe to be with that pain. And how is this pain happening for me? So let me know if that clarifies kind of the difference between attaching on versus actually being with it. Um, this has been so helpful. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I'm so glad it's helpful. Okay, so now we're going to move in, just keeping an eye on time because I can talk about this forever. We're going to move into a brief higher self activation meditation. So I want you guys to get really comfortable. Hold on, let me just tend to these shutters for a moment because they're so loud. Okay, we'll see if that helps. All right, so we're gonna get cozy. Get very comfy. Sit up nice and tall, rolling your shoulders back if you're able to close your eyes. And I want you to just take a moment to notice any sensations in your body, noticing where any of that pain or tension lives in the body. And I want you to imagine your higher self. So, this is the version of you that is in full alignment, that is on the other side of this breakup, the other side of this suffering, on the other side of this fear, on the other side of this pain, who has moved through it, who has alchemized it, who has used it for her benefit. This is the version of you that you dream of being, that sometimes you doubt is possible. But you know deep down you are meant to become this full out version of yourself, the one who relates to her emotions from a powerful, real, open hearted place, from the version of herself that tends to that inner child when she's feeling scared and when she's feeling like she needs that tending to. And I want you to imagine your present day self in this present moment, coming into relationship with this higher self, this higher version. Taking a breath in and release. And I want you to imagine, what would your highest self, how would she be relating to this current situation? So for me, this is, moving through this dysregulation, coming back to my power, my wisdom, which is what I'm doing by showing up on this live right now. How would your highest self guide you through this breakup? How would your highest self, what would she have to tell you? What does she need to say to you? And how you can relate to the areas of your life that are maybe not in full alignment right now. What is she here to teach you? And taking a breath in with that, just listening for what comes up. Is there some action that she's asking you to be brave enough to take despite being in pain, despite being scared? That will help show your nervous system that you are safe to keep moving forward, to keep going, to keep choosing and showing up for you in your dream life, your life beyond your wildest dreams. And just noticing any sensations in the body that are coming up as you connect with her. And also noticing how little you is feeling. Is she feeling safe enough to really listen to this guidance from your highest self? Is your younger self needing validation, holding, attunement, just space to be with that emotion, giving her whatever she's needing in this moment? And taking deep breaths in. And just allowing this younger part of you to be there while connecting to this future version of yourself. How does she show up in the world? How does she relate to herself? How does she talk to herself? How does she love herself more wholly and deeply? What does she have to say to your inner child who's just feeling so scared without this person, without relating to this behavior in this way? reminding her that she is safe to be with whatever comes up in each present moment. That even if old ways of relating comes up, she can be gentle with herself about that while holding herself accountable to relate in the way that she knows she's capable of, without giving into the addictive behaviors, the external saving, but really coming home to herself as her own anchor of safety and grounding and love and connection. Taking a few deep breaths, noticing any of that pain or fear in your body, noticing what inner child you is needing. Remembering your power, remembering how powerful you are, remembering that everything that is happening for you, even if it's something from the past, a familiar pain, a familiar suffering. It's an onion where you are healing is not linear. It's an onion where you are digging into deeper layers of healing this wound, of healing this inner child wound, of healing this part of yourself, of loving this part of yourself, of accepting this part of yourself. How can you love this part of yourself that maybe feel shame around? How can you love the root, which is just that scared inner child who needs you to accept her and love her no matter what, and not define her based on behavior that she's not proud of and behavior that she knows she's capable of shifting without attaching onto it being perfect or it looking linear, but just knowing that every time something comes up again, it's an opportunity to heal it at a deeper layer. And then it's all happening for her. Where does she need to get more still? Where does she need to carve out time for herself and her emotions every day? Where does she need to show up and take more action because she's feeling too scared to show up? And this action is going to help her feel safer to really lean into creating that life that she wants for herself. Where does she need to hold herself more accountable, be more disciplined, knowing that that discipline is the greatest form of self-love? And where do we all just need to be a little bit more gentle with ourselves, to be less critical because it feels safer to be critical and hard on ourselves because that's what we were used to from childhood. That's how we got our needs met. That's how we felt connected to our attachments. Where can we actually lean into being more gentle, more forgiving, more understanding through this acceptance, because acceptance is the gateway to change. We have to first accept what is before we can change what is. Taking another deep breath in, holding at the top, and slowly release. Coming back to the anchor of safety that is this present moment. Knowing that no matter how often you get dysregulated, you always have a choice to come back to regulation. Knowing that every time you relate differently, you are healing that root of dysregulation, which is childhood trauma. Knowing that it doesn't mean anything about you. You are not broken. You are not wrong. You are not damaged. You are not different in a bad way. You are so uniquely you, and your trauma shows up in the unique way it does. And we can be understanding and accepting and gentle of that while being with the shame that comes with relating in a way that we know that we are so much more capable of relating in a different way, that we are so beyond relating in that way. So this beautiful balance between gentleness and accountability, gentleness and discipline, understanding and forgiveness, forgiving ourselves while knowing that we can and will do better for ourselves because we love ourselves enough to. Always coming back to choice. We always have a choice. And taking another deep breath in And slowly release. Giving yourself a really big hug. Thanking your body and your nervous system and your emotions for always communicating to you. Always letting you know when it's needing something, when it's needing forgiveness, when it's needing action, when it's needing deeper love and anchoring home to yourself and safety. Telling your body, I am here with you. I am home with you. I love you. I am thankful for you. That it's all okay. That it doesn't all need to be so big the way that our minds make it out to be. That everything in this moment is actually okay, even if it doesn't feel like it. In this moment, we are safe, we are breathing, we are alive. We were created here on purpose. We have a beautiful soul purpose, soul mission, whatever that might be. And if you don't know what that is yet, that's okay. Just allowing yourself to be exactly as you are, accepting this exact version of you with all of the shameful parts, all of the shameful behaviors, all of the things that you want to run away from, knowing that that pain is here to teach you that you are safe to be with it. Taking another deep breath in and slowly release and slowly starting to come back to the present. Maybe rolling your neck, taking any organic movement, maybe some side stretches. And let me know in the comments how that felt for you. Marie, Lily, Isel, let me know how that feels for you. For those tuning in live, for those watching the replay, let me know how it lands for you. Let me know what your biggest takeaway from that meditation was. Like, what did your highest self need to tell you? What did she need you to really hear and believe? Wonderful. Thank you for that. It feels awesome. Good, good, good. I'm so glad. Any key takeaways? Anything that she told you? Hey, Shayna. Anything that you are going to move forward from that with in terms of action, in terms of belief? That I will be happy again? Yes. Ugh. I know that feeling when you go through a breakup and you literally feel like you're dying and you're like, I can't live without this person. I'm never going to be happy again. Like I have, like literally I moved from New York to California 4 months after I met, um, who I thought was the love of my life, who I think will always be one of the loves of my life. And because of my anxious attachment, I literally felt like I was dying without him. I was in such deep fear and pain and truly felt like I could marry this person and have his babies tomorrow. And I could have. That would have been a valid choice. I was so deeply in love, will always love this person. We are still connected to this day, like soul wise. But I knew my soul was meant to move to California and his soul was meant to stay in New York, and he's on his own journey and I'm on my journey. And oh my God, same. Wait, same place, like New York and California, or just oh, okay, in terms of making marriage plans and all that. Hey, Cara, welcome. Um, Isel said acceptance leads to change. I was asking the question of how today so many times. It was a beautiful reminder. Yep, the how is not our responsibility at all, which is such a relief, right? Like life gets to feel so much lighter when we are not responsible for the how. I can't tell you how much of my life I spent trying to figure out the how. And then I was like, wait, that's not my job. That's what we have God for and the universe for. Like, we just need to stay connected to our why. That's it. And take the action. So, yeah, Marie, I was just saying, like, we can find that person. And the greatest form of self love is setting someone free if it's not actually in alignment. Alignment does not mean we don't love them. Alignment does not mean that they are not a valid choice for a life partner. Alignment does not mean that we are disvaluing everything that the relationship brought. Alignment means I love you so much and I love myself so much to the point where I am going to choose me and I want you to choose you. And again, this doesn't mean we don't ever make compromise or sacrifice, but we know when we're sacrificing from a place of choosing attachment over authenticity. Like, had I stayed in New York for this person, which I almost moved back for him because I was in such deep pain without him, I literally considered moving back for him. And that's when I knew, oh, this is me not feeling safe. This isn't in alignment. And he was the one, he came to visit me and he looked at me and he said, you need to let me go. Like, he was like, you need to fully experience California and see if it's meant for you. And it is. And he knew that. And he was like, you are not staying here for me. That is true love. He could have easily been selfish and convinced me to be like, come back, let's get married, like, let's move in together, like, let's live happily ever after. And I would have forever not moved to California. And that is actually how I was born. My mom wanted to move to California. She ended up meeting my dad in social work school, in grad school. They ended up dating. She never moved to California. And then she died and she never got to move. Hi, Darwin. So we will always choose that attachment over authenticity. And then we don't actually get to live out what our soul wants. That's so funny as I'm talking about my ex, one of my exes just popped on here. Not the one I was talking about, but one that I was actually supposed to move here with. So wild. So the whole point is, like, if we don't listen to our soul's calling and we choose attachment, we are abandoning ourselves. And the greatest thing we can do for those that we love is to be with the pain and say, this pain is temporary, but the suffering of not choosing our soul's calling is forever. So we have to choose pain over suffering. And if you are meant to be with this person, the universe will find a way to bring you back together. But you have to honor you first so that if you do get back together, or if you meet someone else, it's going to be coming from a place of alignment and authenticity and adding to that alignment rather than, and just coming from like pure desire and overflow rather than I need you to feel safe. That's coming from little you. And to this day, I still love this person deeply. He still loves me deeply. We still are connected on a soul level, but he set me free. And that is true love. That is the most loving thing that a man has ever done for me. To not be selfish, to not say, I need you here with me. He selflessly set me free and said, I love you so much. I want you to be happy. I want you to go experience what you're meant to experience in California. And 5 years later, I'm still here because I am meant to live here and not in New York. And the thing is when you choose yourself, you're going to call in those aligned connections. You're going to call in someone else that is beyond that connection that you thought you couldn't live without. Like, I know that for a fact. I haven't even met my person yet. And I know that that connection, it's going to be beyond what I ever experienced because it's going to be from a place of me choosing me. I love referring to the young you. Yeah, absolutely. Because our inner child is, she's alive. She's here. She's always with us. And if she doesn't feel safe, she takes over and we have to really look at where she's taking over. All right, I'm going to wrap us up with a card pull. So, universe, give us any guidance on what we need to hear today based on anything that little us needs to feel safe and highest self needs to activate us into this next iteration of ourselves, into this next healing chapter, into this next expansion. Ooh, intention. Be clear and decisive. Focus on what you really want. Be bold with your request to the universe. So the first thing that comes forward for me in my own work that I'm doing this week and really connecting home to myself on a deeper level is trusting my intuition and being decisive. And so yesterday, one of the things that was activating me was because I didn't listen to my intuition and I just spent too much energy trying to decide something that I already knew the answer to. And so being clear and decisive would have just said, nope, I'm trusting this. I don't want to spend energy on this. Boom. and allow me to move forward and not create so much suffering, confusion, energy, right? And so focusing on what you really want, like when you, like, for example, when I have my inner child get scared, she has these urges of like, go to the TV, go to this, go to that. And I have to be very intentional of like, nope, we're not relating that way anymore. Nope, we're not doing that. And choosing differently. So be intentional with how you relate to your emotions, intentional with how you relate to yourself, intentional with how you relate to those wild thoughts that come up, and know that those wild thoughts are just coming from a scared little you that needs tending to. Be intentional with how you speak to yourself. Be intentional with how you care for yourself, especially during this breakup, right? How are you caring for yourself? How are you loving yourself more deeply throughout this painful process, and really accepting that pain is going to be here for as long as it needs to be here. And yes, a deeper connection can come. And it's not even about like a deeper connection. Yes, that may be the case. It's about alignment, right? It's about I'm choosing me, I'm choosing authenticity. And because of that, the universe is giving me this partner that just adds to that. I don't need them for safety anymore because I become my own anchor of safety. But now I'm experiencing a connection that's exactly what I needed, even if it's not what I wanted. What the universe gives us what we need. And when we get what we need, we ultimately get what we want, because we need to learn the lessons and experience the growth to actually get to where we want to be. So, where are you needing to take action? Where are you holding yourself back? Where are you needing to tend to the emotion in your body? And where can you connect to this higher self to help tend to where you're at while guiding you forward so you don't get sucked in and attached to the suffering or attached to the avoidance, but really being in the present, connected to yourself with what is as you're taking steps towards creating your life. All right, my loves, let's end this at 1, 2, 3, 4. And thank you guys so much for tuning in live, for all of your beautiful reflections and comments and questions. Are there any final questions, thoughts, feelings? This one just popped up too, abundance. Before we wrap up, let me know. I am here for you. I'm here with you. The name of my podcast is Feel It to Heal It, the Feel It to Heal It podcast with Rachel Kelly. If you just search it on Spotify or Apple, if you enjoyed this, this will be a podcast episode. Please feel free to leave a review and rate it and share it with someone who could benefit, because the more we do that, the more it spreads. And if you guys are needing deeper support, I have a couple ways. Well, one, my TV challenge, my No TV challenge is coming up. I'm doing a free masterclass called Binging to Bliss, all about TV addiction, because that was one of my biggest ones. Even if you don't have any intention of releasing your TV addiction, just come join and just learn about it, be in community. But if you are needing deeper support, I have two main ways of doing this work right now. I have my Beyond Your Wildest Dreams membership, which is the lowest cost offer. This is only $111 per month, but you get your first month half off. So $55. You get weekly live trainings, private Q&As with me, a whole community of people. And we have some members that are in there who's on this live right now. Where you don't feel alone in your healing journey. You feel connected with other people who are doing the same work. And you get weekly journal prompts, weekly affirmations, weekly integration homework, accountability, support, all for $55. Like, insane value. And then when you sign up, you actually get the entire library of past trainings that you can have lifetime access to. So there's about 25 trainings in there already. So if you want to replace TV and as you're eating, want to watch a training instead, and like fueling your mind and your nervous system with more positivity than like the news or drama or living the lives of people on the screens you're watching. So Beyond Your Wildest Dreams membership, I'm also having a sale on that coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. And then my one-on-one spots open. I have a 3-month package or a 6-month package. The 6-month package is discounted, and you have the option of bi-weekly sessions or weekly sessions. Then you get Monday through Friday Voxer support, which is daily accountability, daily co-regulation, like me being with you in that dysregulation to help you learn how to self-regulate. And we're not just here for regulation. Like I could give you a million coping skills in the world. We're here to really rewire your nervous system out of survival mode so that that dysregulation is not your norm anymore. Like the day that I had yesterday, I literally used to feel like that all the time. I literally was just living through my inner child all the time. And I was a grown ass adult and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even know there was another way to feel. I thought chronic anxiety, chronic sickness, chronic brokenness, chronic external saving, chronic needing validation. I thought all those things were just normal because that's all I knew. Chronic binge eating, chronic TV binging. Like I was living like from this place of trauma rather than actually living from a place of safety and groundedness and authenticity. Like your anxiety is not actually you. Your depression, not actually your authentic self. My authentic self is actually a very grounded human. And I was shocked to learn that because I was dysregulated my whole life. I was ungrounded my whole life. And then when I actually connected to my authentic self and I healed that trauma and I started living more from my authentic self, I was mind blown. I was like, wait, I'm a double Capricorn. I'm actually a very grounded person. And that's why I'm so good at helping you be grounded because I'm actually very grounded. So anytime I know that I'm not feeling grounded, I know that that's my trauma, that's my inner child, that's my attachment wounding. It's not actually authentic me. So the purpose of this work is to guide you out of survival mode so that you can heal those symptoms of anxiety, of like sickness, of any symptoms you have, overthinking, stuck in your head, wanting to create a business, write a book, expand, but you just feel so terrified. Like this work helps you get your nervous system out of survival mode. So you release the protectors of control, perfectionism, judgment. You release those addictive behaviors that your nervous system is relying on to keep you safe. And you actually experience life from what I call ventralicious space, which is our ventral nervous system state. It's a state of connection, joy, home, love, where life, you actually feel safe to receive everything that life has to offer. We are not taught how to do that, right? And the thing about traditional, I used to be a traditional talk therapist, is we can't talk trauma out of the body. So if you are looking to fully process that stored pain in your body, heal, use this breakup or this challenge or whatever it is that you're currently moving through, use that to process what's coming up, to get your nervous system out of survival mode and start feeling how you want to feel and not feeling dysregulated all the time, cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally. This is the work for you. We get you into your body. We help reparent your inner child. You get that daily co-regulation. And we don't just talk about your problems all day because that actually doesn't help anything. We actually help you feel that safety to be with your emotions, and then you will feel safe to be with anything that comes up in each present moment. And that is what building internal safety is all about. So membership is the lowest cost option. One-to-one spots is a higher level investment. Packages start at $2,000 a month. So it is a much higher level because you're getting a much higher level of support. My one-to-ones get the most support, and then a middle level of support and investment would be my group program. So if you are a female who has anxious attachment, my group Come Home to Yourself is going to be opening for enrollment pretty soon. Or if you are a male or have men in your life, our group Real Men Heal is opening for enrollment soon. So those are the three options. We have the membership, lowest cost, group programs, middle cost, one-to-one, highest cost. And if you're looking for more of just like a passive, like again, wanting to replace dinner with watching something, going at your own pace, we have self-led courses. We have the Secure Entrepreneur, which is specifically for entrepreneurs who are wanting to relate to their business through more of a secure attachment rather than anxious attachment. And then we have my course, Powerfully Single, which Marie, going through a breakup, powerfully single would be perfect for you right now. And if finances are ever an issue, DM me. I will give you a discount code. Powerfully Single is my course for those who want to deepen that self-connection, who want to feel so safe being single, not from a place of, oh my God, I'm single and this sucks, and like just fantasizing about your next dream partner, but like you want to feel so deeply secure and safe within yourself. Powerfully Single is such a powerful course. Like, it's actually my favorite course that I've ever created, because I used to be this person that would pride myself off of being single. And I'd be like, I'm so independent. But then I would go home and just binge watch Netflix and avoid myself and like have casual sex when that wasn't in alignment, or drink alcohol, which wasn't in alignment. Like, I would do all these things and be like, I am single, blah, blah, blah. But I was so disconnected from myself. And so Powerfully Single is this embodiment of like, what does it mean to actually be powerfully single? Like, not just reaching for the next partner or missing the old part. Like, yes, we can miss them, but not like grasping, right? It's like, how can I feel so deeply connected and enjoy the benefits of being single? I'm single right now. I live alone with my fur babies, and it's fucking freedom. I don't have to ask anyone, what are we doing for dinner? Or what do you want? Like, I get to enjoy this time of being so selfish, of just like, it's all about me. And I fucking love it. And it actually has made me like, I used to be in such a rush to like meet my person and have kids. And now I'm like, I don't even know if I want kids. Number one. Number two, I'm in no rush anymore. Like 0%. I don't even know if I want that right now. I truly love being alone, like so much to the point where I'm actually a little nervous about the idea of the universe bringing me my person. Cause I'm like, I don't want it right now. Like, I'll have that eventually. But like, I love this freedom of feeling powerfully single. Cara says, I love being alone. Yes. And when you are fresh out of a breakup and you're like used to sharing your life with someone, oh my God, it can feel so sad, so terrifying. You're like, I'm alone. It feels terrifying. So it's so like Powerfully Single is about getting you to this place of like, I feel so good about being alone, and not from an avoidant place either. Because if you're avoidantly attached, you can very much avoid connection because you're like terrified of it. Which honestly, I went from anxiously attached to now I'm like, I'm a little terrified of eventually being back in a relationship, not gonna lie. And I know that I still desire that one day, right? But it's like this just release of all control, and like, when is it going to happen, and the how. It's just like, I fully surrender to this current chapter, and I know that that person's going to come when they're meant to. So Powerfully Single would be a beautiful option. I have payment plans for all of the above. If you guys want to DM me, I also offer a free discovery call if you want to chat about any of the options, but DMs work too. So thank you guys so much for joining. This was so lovely and beautiful to connect with you guys. And I know that I am personally feeling better because I gave myself what I needed, which was to take action and to get back to connecting to myself, which is part of me connecting to myself is through my purpose and through being of service, and what God put me on this earth to do. So your reminder to take that action when you're feeling stuck, like just connect back to the things that connect you home to you and make you feel like your most authentic self. So I hope in giving you guys what I was needing today, it was also helpful for you. Thank you for tuning in, and I love you guys so much. Mwah. Take time to come home to yourselves, and I will see you on the next live, on the next episode, and chat with you in the DMs. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.